Deep in rural Jackson, tucked in the mountains of Breathitt County, Kentucky, there's a winding, quiet stretch of road called Panbull Branch. The locals call it the Holler, the kind of place where homes are so far apart that hollering across the valley is faster than walking to your neighbors. It was just after 9 a.m. on August 6th, 2025, when one of those neighbors, rather than hearing a holler that morning, instead heard an unexpected knock on his back door. Standing there was 37-year-old Felicia Gross, visibly shaken, eyes red with tears. She asked if she could use his phone. The neighbor agreed, already sensing something was very wrong. Felicia dialed 911 and, in a trembling voice, said, "My child is missing." While police were on their way, she told the neighbor that she and her husband, Josh Gross, had last seen her 10-year-old son, Jaden Spicer, the night before, sometime between 9 and 9:30 p.m. But when they woke up that morning, Jaden was gone. The story echoes other haunting cases: Jack and Lily Sullivan, Summer Wiles, Sebastian Rogers, and even a decades-old mystery of Asha Degree. Children who, for reasons still unknown, seem to walk out of their homes and vanish into thin air. But children don't just fall off the face of the earth, they're always somewhere. And more often than not, at least one person knows exactly where that is. While those other cases remain shrouded in mystery, the fate of Jaden Spicer would be uncovered far more quickly. And what has been uncovered in the investigation so far has sparked public outrage. So stay with us as we piece everything together we know so far in this evolving story. Felicia Spicer was born in October of 1991 to her mother, Lisa Brunty. She grew up alongside her two sisters, Samantha Brunty and Shy Salyers, in the Appalachian region of eastern Kentucky. As Felicia grew older, she became a mom herself, having three children, Mia, Jaden, and Elia Spicer. The identity of their biological father hasn't been officially confirmed. Some people close to Felicia say she didn't actually know who the father was, while others claim it's a man who's currently behind bars, a man with a very troubling history. But without official confirmation, we're not naming names. What we do know is that Felicia had a hard time adjusting to motherhood, and her grandmother, Shirley Johnson, stepped in to raise the kids. Shirley's relationship with her daughter Lisa and her granddaughter Felicia may not have been especially close, but when her family needed her most, she was the one who held them together. She opened her home and her heart to her great-grandchildren, Mia, Jaden, and Elia, raising them with the love, stability, and care they needed when Felicia and Lisa could not. To her great-grandchildren, Shirley wasn't just a guardian. She was their safe place and a person who made sure they still had a family. Felicia's adult life was also marked by run-ins with the law. She battled substance abuse and faced multiple arrests for drug and firearm charges, as well as child endangerment and wanton endangerment. In Kentucky, wanton endangerment is an offense that covers behavior creating a substantial risk of injury or death to someone else. These charges eventually landed her behind bars for a total of about 3 years. And during all of this, CPS was a constant presence in the children's lives, monitoring their well-being while they lived under Shirley's care. Felicia's 10-year-old son, Jaden, was born on October 4th, 2014. And from the very beginning, he shared an unshakable bond with his great-grandmother, Shirley, or Mama, as he lovingly called her. Jaden enjoyed playing Fortnite and Roblox, loved all things Spider-Man, and could spend hours outside, tossing rocks, riding the four-wheeler, jumping on the trampoline, or running from one sport to the next, whether it was soccer, basketball, or baseball. He attended Highland Turner Elementary School in Breathitt County, where teachers described him as a bright, energetic student. Those closest to him say he had a few quirks. He was afraid of the dark and insects, and it had been reported that he had ADHD. Family members have shared that Jaden needed almost constant supervision, something Shirley provided without hesitation for most of his life. She was his stability and the person he could always count on. But as Shirley reached 73 years old, her health began to decline, and she was admitted to the Wells Hospice Care Center in Hazard, Kentucky. On May 20th, 2025, Shirley passed away. And for the children who had relied on her as more of a mother than a great-grandmother, It was a devastating loss, the kind of heartbreak that changes everything. After Shirley's passing, Felicia's sister Samantha stepped up to take in the children. Mia, Felicia's oldest daughter, grew especially close to Samantha and her family. But Samantha already had 3 children of her own, and suddenly adding another 3 was a huge responsibility. The family has said Jayden needed constant near supervision, and with 6 young children in one household, that was almost impossible. By this point, though, Felicia seemed to be turning a corner. She had married a man named Josh Gross, and together they had 3 more children, Hunter, River, and Fisher, all who were already living in her care. In Kentucky, Child Protective Services has one main goal: family reunification. If a parent is deemed stable and capable, CPS will work to return the children to the parents. Felicia was a stay-at-home mom, which in theory meant she could give Jayden the attention and supervision he was said to be so in need of. And so CPS put a plan in place. Felicia and Josh would have to attend parenting classes, pass a drug test, and meet other requirements. Eventually, they were granted custody of Jayden. It's unclear whether Aliyah also went to live with them at that time, but Mia stayed with her aunt Samantha, where she had found a sense of stability and belonging. So Jayden moved in with his mother, Felicia, his stepdad, Josh, and his 3 little brothers. They all lived in a single wide trailer on the Panbowl Branch Road. And as you can imagine, it was a full house. Felicia and Josh have said they were trying to help Jayden work through the grief of losing his mama, Shirley, while also adjusting to a brand new living arrangement. But the reality was, even though Felicia was his biological mother, Jayden had never truly lived with her in that role for any meaningful stretch of time. For most of his life, home had meant Shirley's house. And now he was stepping into an already formed household, one where Felicia had built a new family and was raising 3 young sons that she had been caring for since birth. For Jayden, it meant suddenly going from being the center of one person's world to finding his place as the oldest child in a family he hadn't really been a part of. That's a tough adjustment for any kid, especially one still reeling from the loss of the only consistent maternal figure he'd ever known. And it's hard not to imagine that being the odd one out in a family that already had its rhythm and bonds might have left him feeling like an outsider in what was supposed to be his own home. That's why, when Jayden went missing, many people thought it was plausible that he could have run away. So, on the morning of August 6th, after Felicia used her neighbor's phone, police arrived at the family's home on Panbowl Branch Road. She told authorities again what she had already shared. Her son, Jayden, was last seen the night before between 9 and 9:30 p.m. wearing blue Sonic the Hedgehog pajamas. Although the case didn't meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, a massive search was underway almost immediately. The home is nestled in rugged, mountainous terrain surrounded by dense forest, winding waterways, and nearby Panbowl Lake. Kentucky State Police, Breathitt County Emergency Management, and multiple rescue teams combed a 20-mile radius, deploying drones, ATVs, sonar equipment, and even sent tracking dogs. But despite their efforts, none of the dogs picked up on Jayden's trail. Neighbors in the holler joined the search as well. Mildred Shannon recalled reviewing her family's security cameras after learning about Jayden's disappearance. She said, quote, "There are a lot of coyotes. You've got the snakes and things at night. A child, even a young adult, probably isn't safe out in the woods at night. You wouldn't want your son or grandson lost in the woods. It's not safe," end quote. Family members came out to help too. Felicia's sisters, Samantha and Shai, joined the search, but even they admitted things weren't adding up. Jayden had always been afraid of the dark and bugs. The thought of him wandering into the woods alone at night just didn't make sense, unless he felt he had no other choice.
He's a good boy. He's very sweet and loving. He is very hyperactive.
He likes to be on the go.
On the go 24/7.
They say that he would never venture out in the dark and try to climb the rugged terrain that surrounds his home.
He does not like insects at all.
Or the dark. He
Them looking up in the hills, I mean, any child can go anywhere, but it just seems so unreal that he would go up there.
Even State Senator Brandon Smith joined the search. He shared videos of the areas he had combed, rundown homes, abandoned lots, remote dump sites, praising the Kentucky State Police along the way. Smith said, quote, "We are going to continue to search for this little guy and get him home," end quote. But the search was exhausting. The scorching Kentucky heat, the unforgiving terrain, and still no sign of Jayden. Every passing hour raised new fears. How long could a young boy survive with little to no supplies?
We must continue hope, but unfortunately at this point, where we're at in the investigation, it's a race against the clock. We're essentially at kind of our last leg. We need to locate him immediately.
Anyone with information that may help in the search is encouraged to contact Kentucky State Police. They say they're taking all possibilities relating to his disappearance into consideration.
A week into the search, the community rallied in other ways. A GoFundMe account was launched to fund a cash reward for anyone with information leading to Jayden. And Father Jim Sitchko, missionary of mercy, offered an additional $1,500 for Jayden's safe return, another sign that the community refused to give up hope. Jayden's disappearance would soon capture the attention of the media. But as days passed with no answers, the questions only grew, and the fear that something was deeply wrong became harder to ignore. Some people found it odd that Felicia and Josh weren't speaking to the media, doing interviews, or publicly pleading for Jayden's return. It's certainly odd. And some suggested, though, that they were simply shy. But others pointed out that the couple had spoken to news outlets in the past on far less serious matters. They had previously given interviews about J.D. Vance growing up in the same holler, Panbowl Branch. While rural and relatively obscure, it is famously known as a setting for the vice president's autobiography, Hillbilly Elegy.
This is Jackson, Kentucky, in the heart of Appalachia. How'd you feel when you heard that he's the Republican vice presidential nominee?
I was actually proud. It came across really, like a proud feeling, like you can accomplish something just from this little area. It tells me kind of, one of my little boys could possibly grow up and become vice president one day. You never know.
So if Josh and Felicia could go on camera to talk about that, why not speak publicly about something far more important, their missing son? Instead of direct media engagement, Felicia reportedly reached out to several stations asking for prayers and to release a handwritten letter. And in that letter, she wrote, quote, "We love Jayden and want him safe at home. Please, if anybody sees my son, Jayden Spicer, please report it to the Jackson Police Department. Thank you. We love him very much. Please do the right thing. Call the police. Please pray for us and my son, Jayden. Thank you." End quote. While the letter reads like a mother's desperate plea, some observers found elements of it unsettling. Investigators reportedly found no evidence that Jayden had been abducted, but the phrase, "do the right thing," gave the impression that Felicia believed someone knew more than they were saying. It hinted at a scenario more complicated than a simple runaway case. Officials also reportedly spoke to Felicia and Josh's other children, and in such a small home with a family dog that would likely react to unusual commotion, it was notable that none of the kids reported seeing or hearing anything suspicious the night Jayden disappeared. A Kentucky couple, Sheila and Fred McCoy, run a small museum dedicated to the historical feud between the Hatfields and McCoys. They also maintain a YouTube channel called Hatfield and McCoy Museum Adventures. While the channel wasn't originally focused on true crime, Fred's background as a retired police officer and the couple's history of assisting in missing persons cases positioned them uniquely for such work. In September 2024, a man named Joseph Couch went on a shooting spree along Interstate 75, randomly firing at vehicles and wounding 5 people. Law enforcement, local, state, and federal searched tens of thousands of acres of woods, but were unable to locate him. And that's when Sheila and Fred decided to help. After navigating a dense wooded area, they discovered Couch's remains about a mile from the scene, the result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And for their efforts, the couple received a $25,000 reward, and this success motivated them to continue applying their skills to high-profile searches, like that of Jaden Spicer. Sheila and Fred made their way to the holler, expecting the road to be closed or at least crawling with searchers. But to their surprise, they saw no one. Undeterred, the couple parked across from the Gross family home in a small pull off near the woods and began their search. And almost immediately, something caught their attention at the edge of the tree line. A crumpled sheet of plastic looking like trash lay on the ground. And when Fred opened it, he was shocked. Inside was children's clothing, a backpack, underwear sealed in a Ziploc bag, and shoes, items that could belong to a boy Jaden's age.
What's this? Goodness sakes, I'm standing right here next to. Hey Sheila, hon, look at this. Right where we back in at. This is clothing. Was he going to run away? What's this all about? Why ain't nobody? Is this nothing? Look here. It was right here covered up in this plastic. What is this?
That's weird.
A little pair of underwear? A little pair of Crocs?
Should we talk
Would this fit? Is this smaller than a 10-year-old? Or? Well, no, surely they've seen it. You know, guys, this is what... You all followed us on the way up here. We finally passed one trooper.
Yeah.
And there's nobody. According to the news, they're actively searching for this little boy.
What's his clothes for here?
But maybe that was covered up with plastic. And I just happened to look down while I'm standing here talking. Now, what is that?
That's odd.
That's very odd.
Wow.
Was that meant to look like he was running away? Or did he have a plan to run away and that's where he hid his... Maybe he was going to run away before? But surely we're not the first ones to see this.
But why would such potentially important items just be left here, seemingly overlooked, when search teams had combed the area? Sheila and Fred wondered if officials could have somehow missed them, items that might be critical evidence. Among the clothing was a blank sheet of notebook paper inside a protective binder sleeve. The couple speculated it could have been from the same notebook Felicia had used to write her public letter. And for the time being, they decided not to disturb the items. They left them where they were and continued a brief search of the surrounding woods, planning to report their findings afterwards. And not long into their search, Sheila and Fred saw a car pull up in the driveway at the Gross family home. Josh, Felicia, and a child stepped out, and the couple decided to approach them, introducing themselves and explaining that they were helping search for Jaden.
Are they okay? There she is. That is her. Watch her. She's peeking around looking. She's peeking to see where we're at. There he is. He's pointing at us up on the hill. He sees us. They got at least one child with them. He's looking at us. He sees us.
I think she said, who is that?
He's pointing at us.
You see him out there?
Hey, Josh. How you doing? This is Fred and Sheila McCoy. We just come out looking around, see if we could find Jaden anywhere. I appreciate that. I was wondering what your reaction would be. Of course, you wouldn't think you would be mad over it, and I appreciate that. I agree.
No.
That's exactly right.
The family said they didn't want to be filmed, but Fred quietly kept his phone recording in his pocket. Sheila and Fred asked about the plastic bag of clothing they had found near the woods. At first, Josh claimed he didn't know what it was, but then said the police had removed the items from Jaden's great-grandmother's trailer and left them there, perhaps for scent dogs. He also said that police reported the items were covered in mold, though Sheila and Fred saw no signs of any mold. Regardless, Leaving a missing child's belongings crumpled on the ground seemed unusual, almost uncharacteristic for law enforcement. The couple also asked about Jayden's schooling. Josh said he was medically exempt. He later elaborated on the reason that he was medically exempt, but the McCoys didn't want to share that on YouTube to protect Jayden's privacy.
He talked about the clothes. We asked about the clothing over there, and he said, yeah, those are Jayden's. Law enforcement put them there. Now, when I was up on the hill, he said the state police, when we were hollering back and forth, he said the state police put them there. But on this tape here, he says, yeah, law enforcement put them there. They were Jayden's, and said, I haven't been through them.
He said they had mold on them.
Said the police told him that they had mold on them. After that, Sheila and I went back again and looked at the clothing. There was no mold on these clothes. You all seen them on camera as well as we did. Some of them's even in baggies. We asked him if he was in school. Sheila and I was thinking that maybe he was in school and it would be somebody had bullied him maybe, and that may have been why he run off if he did. And they said, no, he didn't go to school. And they told us that Jayden didn't go to school. He gave us a reason why. It didn't transcribe it there, and we're not going to repeat it, but he told us something, that the reason why Jayden wasn't allowed to go to school. Now, some of these things we like to have on video, because if a person has told the police one thing, or a teacher or somebody, and they tell us something else, then that's a clue. That's something to go on. But so if the police or somebody or a teacher or somebody wants to know if Jayden wasn't in school, and the excuse that he gave us that he wasn't in school, that we would talk to them. There's no need in putting it on social media.
Josh and Felicia emphasized that they had fully cooperated with police and had hired an attorney who advised them not to speak to the media, another detail that struck Sheila and Fred as odd. Despite these things, the family thanked the couple for their help and allowed them to continue searching the property. Sheila and Fred reassured them that they had successfully helped locate missing people before, and God willing, they wouldn't stop until they found Jayden. After leaving the holler, Sheila and Fred reported the items they had discovered, but they never heard back from investigators. The next day, Tuesday, August 12th, about 20 minutes from Jayden's home, a man called authorities to report a very distinct smell. He knew Jayden was missing and feared the worst.
Smelled a very distinct smell. I couldn't tell you if it was him or not, but I smelled a distinct smell. I notified the law enforcement this morning, to come over here to check.
This is where the timeline gets a little fuzzy, but the details are important. Around the same time the man reported the smell, officers were also speaking with Felicia, who reportedly had disturbing information to share. Shortly after those conversations, authorities were led to a wooded area on Canoe Road directly across from where the man had detected the smell. And there, in a plastic tote, buried in a shallow grave, they made the horrific and tragic discovery: Jayden's body.
I think I speak for an entire community when I say that we are devastated and collectively broken over this. I'd like to take a moment to extend my condolences to the people who loved and cared about Jayden. While this is not the outcome that we had hoped for, we certainly are grateful that we were able to bring him out of the woods today. Next, I think it's appropriate to thank the Kentucky State Police Post 13. These guys never give themselves enough credit. I can tell you that they have worked tirelessly and often around the clock in their efforts to bring Jayden home. And I know this because I have been on the phone with them just about every day, aggravating them for updates, and they've just not quit. Finally, I would just like to say, I'm sorry guys, this is hard. Finally, I'd just like to say that the outpouring of love and support as a result of this has been absolutely remarkable. And it appears that there are people all over the world that love and care for this baby. Because of that, I would like to assure the public that now, thanks to these guys, Jayden is now in good hands, and we're going to take care of him. Thank you.
Speculation immediately began swirling. Some believe that after speaking with Sheila and Fred McCoy and hearing that the couple wouldn't give up until Jayden was found, Felicia felt pressure and ultimately confessed. The increased attention on the search may have contributed to her decision. But others theorize a different scenario, that after the man reported the smell, police may have already located a body and then approached Felicia, suggesting they might have found something. This could have prompted her to reveal the location herself, which would later serve as evidence that she knew where Jayden was, a detail prosecutors could use in court. Regardless, Felicia was promptly arrested, but her confession goes further. Her arrest citation states, quote, "A recorded Mirandized interview was conducted with Ms. Gross on August 12th at the Jackson Police Department, where she confessed to providing Jayden a type of sleeping medication. Ms. Gross further stated that this medication caused Jayden to have a medical emergency, and she believed that he had passed away from this medical emergency. Ms. Gross further stated in the interview that she had transported Jayden's body to a wooded area on Canoe Road near the mouth of Joe Little Fork. A search warrant was prepared and executed on this property, and Jayden's remains were located buried underground in a plastic tote," end quote. According to Felicia, Jayden's death was just a big accident. She claims she had given him too much sleeping medication. But many are asking the obvious question. If this were truly a medical emergency, why didn't she call 911? Was the medication not prescribed to him, or was it something else entirely? And burying a child in a shallow grave doesn't fit the profile of a typical accident. These facts have led many to doubt that this was unintentional. As we know, family members have stated that Jayden required constant supervision for some reason. Was his behavior overwhelming for Felicia and Josh? Did they simply want him to sleep so they could continue with their day? The unanswered questions are haunting. As of now, Felicia has been charged with second-degree manslaughter, falsely reporting an incident, tampering with physical evidence, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with a witness. Reports indicate she also coached her other children on what to say about Jayden, suggesting they may have seen or heard what happened and were instructed to lie. The exact timeline of Jayden's death remains unclear. His aunts have said that the last time they spoke to him was around the 4th of July. There are also reports that Felicia and Josh attended an open house at Jayden's school the week before he was supposed to start 4th grade, but Jayden was reportedly not with them. They had told the McCoys that he was medically exempt from school, adding to the contradictions and confusion surrounding the timeline. An autopsy will likely provide a clearer picture of when Jayden passed, but until then, many details remain uncertain, leaving a community struggling to understand how such tragedy could unfold. The public has also expressed outrage that Felicia has only been charged with manslaughter. Many believe the charges could change once the autopsy is complete, depending on what the medical examiner determines about Jayden's actual cause of death and whether any substances were involved. Although Josh Gross has not been arrested, speculation surrounds his potential involvement as well. Some suspect that Felicia may currently be covering for him. At 5'9" and 190 pounds, Felicia's ability to carry a tote containing a child's body into the woods, dig a grave large enough, and bury him has raised questions about whether she could have done this alone. Many believe that, at the very least, Josh may have assisted in covering up the crime, and it's possible he could have been involved in the death itself. Time and the investigation will be the ultimate judge. Felicia has since been taken to the Kentucky River Regional Jail and is being held on a $1 million bond. She had her first court appearance on Thursday morning, where the judge entered a not guilty plea on her behalf. Her next court date is set for August 18th. Even in the short time since Jayden was found, the community has begun to grieve his loss. A candlelight vigil was held in his honor, and his friends at school have chosen to wear blue to remember Jayden. His aunts, Samantha and Shai, are grappling with the reality that the court system deemed Felicia a fit mother. They really thought she changed for the better and could be a good mom. In various Facebook posts, Shy wrote, quote, "There are several rumors about how Jayden ended up in Felicia's care. My sister, Samantha, not Felicia, is already going through hell with everyone's BS. Once Mama passed, Felicia automatically gained custody back. CPS has been involved the entire time. They cleared her to have Jayden in her home. Samantha did not just drop Jayden off to her. I've seen so many comments bashing her and saying stuff about Samantha, and I cannot stand it. She loves Jayden more than Felicia ever will and has always done everything she could for him to give him the best she could. He needed someone with 24/7 supervision, and she could not give that. She had 5 other children and works full-time. Felicia was a stay-at-home mom, and I've never seen an issue with it. CPS cleared her. Yes, she had charges 10 years ago. She had 3 kids since then, and CPS let them live with her. There was never any reason to doubt her," end quote. The tragedy and trauma Jayden endured at only 10 years old is almost incomprehensible. Raised by his great-grandmother while witnessing his mother start a new family, losing a maternal figure, and being shuffled between relatives, he faced grief and instability from a very young age. Later living in a small trailer with his mother's new family, he seemed to have been treated poorly. Photos show a stark difference over time. Once a healthy, happy child, Jayden had recently appeared thin with dark circles around his eyes. How long had he been suffering? What truly happened in that home? And then, coincidentally, he was reported missing just as school was about to begin, when others might have noticed something was wrong. Questions remain, and the search for answers continues. Was Josh involved, or at least aware of what Felicia did? Could she have carried out these actions alone? What finally compelled her to come forward after publicly asking for prayers and help? In Jayden's obituary, his family has left us with these words: Jayden's playful laughter, kind heart, and adventurous nature will remain in the hearts of all who knew him. Though his time here was far too short, the love he shared will last forever. In the wake of such a heartbreaking loss, the community and the world can only hope that justice, understanding, and accountability are still to come.